It's a real pleasure and a privilege to welcome Des Amey to the stage today. Des is an author, he's a founder, an entrepreneur, and investor. It's really good to connect with Des. Des, what can I welcome you onto the stage?
Absolutely.
Hello, Des. Nice to see you. Where you calling in from today?
So I'm actually calling from home.
Okay.
In Essex.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, Des, it's really good to see you. Actually, we've known each other for a good number of years, but it's only in the last couple of years we sort of managed to reconnect, and it's really good to have you today. I'm really excited to we've got just under 30 minutes together. It'd be really great to hear about some of your story, your journey, because over the last couple of years, I'm convinced that there will be a whole raft of people that have re-evaluated their trajectory in life. Their schedule has been disrupted. They've had an opportunity to reconnect maybe with some buried passions that just because of the busyness of life, it's got buried, whatever reason. And there may be some people currently doing work that they think actually maybe this isn't the long-term trajectory. And I'd love to hear what, from your experience of, what you sector that you used to work in, and then the transition you made to what you're doing now. It'd be really fascinating to hear some of that story, and then maybe we can learn some things about how you navigated that. Tell us a bit more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And just to provide a little more context to how Matt and I know each other, Matt actually married my wife and I way back in 2009. So I have a lot to thank Matt for. Thank you so much. So Matt alluded to my previous life, my previous career. Just over 3 years ago, I used to be a secondary school teacher and an assistant head teacher working in the London borough of Tower Hamlets. And I loved my job. I love working with young people. I love making an impact. However, for me, I ended up living paycheck to paycheck. I ended up living month to month. And it was quite a bitter pill to swallow, because I had, gone to university. I'd pretty much done everything that my mum had asked me to do. Yet here I was struggling to make ends meet, living in my overdraft, in mountains of debt. So around 2018, I decided to make the transition into full-time entrepreneurship. It was scary. It was difficult. But now I run an academy in Canary Wharf in One Canada Square called Des Amey Finance Academy. And we've helped thousands of people from around the world to become financially independent and to have multiple sources of income. So
you were in the education sector, now you're in the finance sector, and you're having a huge impact. Plus there are lots of other projects that you're involved in, which I'd love to find out more about. But tell us how, what were the transition steps? That was quite a vocational career that you're involved in as a teacher. You'd gone through university, spent years training. Talk. It's not, I imagine it's not an easy transition to make, but what was that like for you?
So I got hit with this phrase, and it was, nothing changes if nothing changes. And that really resonated with me, because I felt like the proverbial rat on the hamster wheel, just kind of doing the same thing over and over again. So it was around that time that I started to become a bit more open-minded about, things, entrepreneurial things. And I started to go to property conventions. They used to take place on a Saturday. It'd be for the whole day in a really nice hotel. It would be completely free. There was always an upsell to a more expensive program that I couldn't afford. But I took what I could from these free sessions. And one book kept coming up time and time again. And that was the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I read that book, and it set a fire inside of me. And then I just became more open to, different entrepreneurial things. And the first thing that I kind of fell into was online trading. And an industry known as network marketing. So like most people, everything kind of starts off as a side hustle, so I'm working, pretty much from 7 in the morning to till 7 at night on my day job. And then in the evening, in the school. And then in the evening, I would work on my entrepreneurial things, whether that was doing property, whether that was trading. I retrained and became a mortgage broker. I was just trying my hand at so many different things as a side hustle, waiting for one thing to really kind of take off. So it was the kind of side hustle that eventually the side hustle started to replace my income. And then comes this really weird transition where you have to make that call. Do I go all in with these entrepreneurial ventures, or do I leave this safe, comfortable vocation that I've been doing I've done for over 14, 15 years? I'm a married man with 2 children at the time. And, it's something that keeps you up at night. You're not sure whether you're making the right decision. I suffered with something called imposter syndrome, where I wasn't sure whether I was this entrepreneur that I kind of had in my mind. So I constantly doubted myself. I had all of these negative thoughts. So that the transition wasn't easy because of fear. I had a lot of fear. What if it doesn't work out? What if something happens and now I'm there's no income coming in? It was such a scary decision to make.
Was there a way of testing the ground? I guess what you were saying was outside of your daytime job, you were experimenting and seeing what was beginning to grow, what was beginning to thrive. So in a way, you were testing it in tandem with your current work. So it wasn't like you had no idea that things weren't going to grow and go well. So you had a bit of an idea, but was there more to that than that you found that really helped you in that transition? Because it sounds like quite a big, it was a massive transition, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I think what scared me the most was not being able to experience all of the seasons of business, so maybe around May 2018 I had started this journey, and then around December things were really taking off. But the fear comes in terms of is this just a really good period? Is it going to be like this for the whole year? Is this sustainable? So yeah, I was testing the waters. But for some reason, there's something about having a regular paycheck that can really, make you scared to lose that. I think I just became scared to lose that regular pay coming in, something that you could set your watch to, as opposed to the world that I was now in, which at the beginning was very, up and down and, some really big highs, but then you could have some lows as well.
And then, the work that you're in right now, tell us about what you do, what it involves. You gave us a little high level insight into it right at the beginning, but tell us a bit more what nuts and bolts, what it looks like.
Absolutely. So there was another phrase that really hit me at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. And it was from Zig Ziglar, who said, help enough people to get what they want and you will get what you want. And that really resonated with me. I think Les Brown said something similar as well. So I realized that in order for me to achieve great things in my industry, I needed to find a way to serve other people. Service to many leads to greatness. And again, it resonates with every fiber in my body because that's what I'm all about. I'm all about helping and serving others. So myself and a colleague, we decided to launch Amey Finance Academy that was more about helping others to become financially free from a plethora of different entrepreneurial avenues. And given my background, I kind of gravitate towards people who are living paycheck to paycheck, maybe struggling financially, and need to have extra income coming in. So we cover things such as property, online trading, online marketing, a whole plethora, so many different things. So that was really it. So that's kind of what we do now. We help people to make money. We do events, we travel, we give people practical solutions, but also a lot of mindset as well.
And I know that's not the only thing you do as well. You juggle a number of other things, and the entrepreneurship passion and spirit that you carry is also, outworked itself in a number of different ways. Could you tell us about the other number of the other projects you're doing? I know you've written something recently, and also, you've been building some stuff as well. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So we also have a new way tuition.co.uk, which is an online tuition service and face-to-face. We have contracts with different local authorities around the UK to look after students that can't cope in the mainstream for whatever reason, and that's going very well. We're building schools in West Africa as well. We've just finished our third building. We're actually building a church in West Africa as well, which is very close to my heart. And the next thing that we want to do is to build a hospital. And of course, the book that was launched last year, Starting Your Property Side Hustle. Very blessed to say that it hit number one in Amazon. And it's just really kind of teaching people how to make an income from the property industry without having to necessarily have lots of money to start off with. Not many people know that you can actually make a residual income from property without actually owning any property. And it's really giving away all of the secrets, all of the gems from the industry. In fact, when I launched the book, a lot of property experts told me off, and they said that I actually gave away too many gems. And I said, that's just how it is. And I'm probably missing so many other projects that we're doing right now. It's just there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
I'd love to hear, as you mentioned, at the heart of your story and your journey is a trust and a dependence on God, and love to know, how was God present in that transition? Were there particular verses in the Bible that stood out to you? Was there, talk us a bit about that.
Absolutely. So throughout my journey, I've had to really develop my my relationship with God. I've experienced a lot of adversity, and during the adversity, there were times where I genuinely felt like everything was gonna disappear, and the voices that I kept hearing were around, trusting God. Why don't you trust me? There's a reason why you're going through this. I'm preparing you for something greater. And, that's really not only developed my relationship with God, but it's also allowed me to bring people closer to God in my teachings on how to deal with adversity. A particular verse that stands out for me is James chapter 1, verse 2. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials and tribulations of many kind. You see, the entrepreneurial journey is not an easy one. It's not for the faint-hearted. But what we have to understand is that sometimes, the entrepreneurial journey is not a smooth one. But what we have to understand is that sometimes God...
Des, we just seem to have lost you. I'm not sure where you're...
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yeah, but we can't see you. I'm not sure what's happened there.
Oh, let's have a look at them. Let me see if I can just get this back. Okay, let me see if does that help as well? Am
I? No, we can't. Let's see what we can do. Let me.
I think I know what it is. Okay.
Bear with us. So strange. It was working fine.
Let's try this. I think
there you go. There you go. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. So James chapter 1, verse 2. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials and tribulations of many kinds. You see, most people, they expect their journey in entrepreneurship to kind of be a straight road, and all nice and jolly. And then we just get to this magical land of wealth and riches and abundance. But God's plan is, very much like this. And there'll be pitfalls, there'll be hurdles, there'll be challenges. And I always say to people, yes, you want to become wealthy, you want to be a multi-7-figure earner, but are you willing to accept the challenges that come with that as well? Because you are going to be stretched, just like an elastic band. When you're stretched you never quite go back to being the same. And what I've realized is that God will test you, he will stretch you, but you have to know that it's for a reason, and that God has a plan, and you have to really, really trust that plan. So what I really do is to coach people to be excited about facing adversity. You know, we should be honored that we're having to go through these challenges, because it's part of God's plan, and we've been chosen to take the test so that we can give the testimony. And that's been, you know, really powerful, not just for me, but in my teachings as well.
Thinking about finances and faith, you're in the financial sector, and the Bible, you know, there's a lot about money, there's a lot about finances in there, and Jesus talks a lot about money. I just wanted, you know, which part, you know, in scripture, where have you found inspiration and at the same time challenge about finances and faith and handling finances well and honoring God with it all? Have you got any particular things that you've really resonated with and have really spoken to you?
Absolutely. There's so much. My whole career has been based on King Solomon. You know, King Solomon for me is such a great example as to money principles. A lot of the money principles that I teach and that people love come directly from King Solomon, one of the wisest and richest men that ever lived. I'll start with the challenges, and then I'll come on to what I really love.
Yeah.
So the challenge sometimes is a misconception that I find with people, some often Christians, that you know, they often equate wanting to be wealthy with you know, being evil, or it's a bad thing. And it comes from the scripture that talks about, you know, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to go to heaven. And I sometimes feel that sometimes that's, you know, misinterpreted. For me, the reason why I love to help people to become wealthy is so that they can do more for the kingdom. It's very difficult to do things like building churches, you know, building schools, paying tithe and all of these things if we don't have. So it's really about our intentions of why we want to have money. If it is for, you know, evil intentions, then of course that's not good. But if you have a clean heart and you want to do more for the kingdom, then by all means. So that's the challenge sometimes in really getting people to understand that it's not a bad thing. We grow up with so many notions such as all rich people are going to hell. You know, money's the roots of all evil. All of these things really can have people believing that, you know, having money is synonymous with, you know, bad things. However, the scriptures that really stand out for me, Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 2. Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 2 says that we should have multiple sources of income, for we do not know what disasters may come upon the land. And it's so interesting that you know, we've just come, or we're in a pandemic, we've just come through a pandemic where a lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people relied so much on that one source of income. And the Bible says very clearly in Ecclesiastes that we should not just rely on that one source. We should always make an investment. We should always look to have different sources. In fact, Ecclesiastes goes on to say that we should have 7 or 8 different sources of income. And that's what we really teach, you know, how to have 7 sources of income, just as it says in the Bible. But the big one for me, the biggest scripture around finances for me is that comes in Proverbs. Proverbs states that we should be building wealth for generations. You know, it's not just we shouldn't just be thinking about ourselves. We should be thinking about generational wealth. A lot of people just think about the here and the now, but what we should really be doing is thinking about how we can put things in place to leave a real financial legacy.
So interesting hearing your perspective and your learnings on this. And just you mentioned King Solomon. Could you talk us a little bit more about what King Solomon's story and you know, what inspiration you take from him and from that account?
Yeah, absolutely. King Solomon, one of the wisest and richest men that ever lived. I think, in relatively speaking, in today's terms, if King Solomon was alive, he'd be like a trillionaire. That's the context that we have to put it in. So people used to travel far and wide, just to be near him, just to get his wisdom, just to get his nuggets. And I guess I kind of model myself on that, wanting to be someone that, I've got so much to learn, but I want to get to a point where, people really value the things that I say, and I can lead people to the kingdom through these teachings. And there are many things that King Solomon, said that are absolutely powerful. Ranging from grabbing hold of opportunities. Ecclesiastes chapter 11, verse 4 talks about, not watching the wind. He who watches the wind will not sow, and he who looks at the clouds will not reap. God calls us to do things and open doors, but we have to go through it and take action. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes we pray for opportunities. I remember I always go to church New Year's Eve. And I remember back when I was struggling financially, I would always pray that the next year would be my year, and that that I would, be given an opportunity. And I guess most people kind of do that going into a new year. However, a lot of people are presented with opportunities, but it's not quite packaged how they want it to be packaged. And because of that, a lot of people pass over opportunity repeatedly. In fact, I often say that's an acronym for poor, passing over opportunity repeatedly. So it shouldn't be anyone's story. Of course, we have to do our due diligence. We have to appraise things that come our way, but it's very, very important to grab hold of opportunities, because often it's the opportunities that we've been praying for.
It's brilliant, Des. And just seeing some of your stuff online, I mean, things have just been flying for you. It sounds, you talked about a book, you've talked, you set up this academy, you're building schools and things and other, I mean, it's just phenomenal just to see in actually quite a short space of time, see things that physically have been growing, but also in terms of business and organization. And, in terms of leadership, you're leading a team, you're juggling lots of different hats, you've got family. I'd love to know, time management. Have you got any insights for people? Because there'll be people who are, working in different sectors of society, maybe some teachers on here, I don't know, but there'll be other people maybe working in their community. They might be leading a team, small, large, leading a business. How do you fit it all in? I mean, you are juggling a lot of stuff. What have you got any principles that you've learned in terms of time management, just like nuts and bolts? What can we learn from you?
Absolutely. I mean, in the beginning, when you're kind of growing an organization, it is going to be tough, and it is going to require some sacrifice. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Sacrifice. You're sacrificing now so that you can enjoy later. So in order to prepare for that sacrifice, I had to get my family on board. So it's really about having those, explicit conversations. I remember sitting my family down, and I did a vision board. And I had on the vision board things that I wanted to achieve. To give the backstory, I just come back from Miami for a convention for the industry that I'm in right now. And it was full of, the whole convention just blew me away. I had the hairs on my arms were standing up. And I came back from the convention and I said to my family, things are going to change for us dramatically, but you're going to have to trust me. I'm going to be working very hard. I'm for want of a better expression, I'm going to be missing in action. But this is why. And I showed them my vision board. So I guess what I'm saying is to get the buy-in. You need to get that buy-in. So on the vision board, I had that I wanted to retire grandma, my mum. I wanted to send my kids to private school. I wanted to, have an office in One Canada Square. And there's some other things on there as well. And I got their buy-in. And that really helped because they could see that is working towards a goal. And then all of those things on the vision board came to pass. And because what we visualize, we materialize. If we can, see it in our minds, then we can hold it in our hands. So that's the first thing, is getting that buy-in, because in the beginning, when you're building, it is tough. But if you've got the buy-in, then there's no friction, because they understand. But also another nugget is to be present. What I try not to do is to say, right, we're having family time, but then I'm on my phone, replying back to messages, doing my Instagram. So when I'm with the family, I'm present with the family. But also when I'm doing my business, I'm present with my business. And to treat the family as well, which is always important. I say they're the biggest things.
That's absolutely so important. I mean, that's you're talking about really behind the scenes, backstage. You've got your family. There's friends and family members need to be part of the journey, and we can't do this on our own. And that's certainly when we planted a church in 2010. It wasn't just a lone venture. It was team. It was family. Everyone was involved. There are long days in setting up new things, and there are conversations. And I think communication, which is what you mentioned there, Des, is so important in that process. Making sure we're having short accounts, making sure that there's an opportunity to share both ways, and open channels of communication. Really fabulous. And in terms of team and delegation, what have you learned about leading teams, and things that we could maybe take away just in the last couple of minutes or so? Principles for team leadership.
Yes. So for me, I'm a coach. I like getting the best out of people. So in terms of leadership, it's first of all, to find your style of leadership. My particular brand of leadership is I'm not sure if it's pertinent to my industry or not, but I love it. I used to be a business studies teacher, so we used to talk about different styles of leadership, and we always spoke about the autocratic leader. The kind of my way, highway. Can be effective, but can definitely rub people up the wrong way. The democratic leader, the laissez-faire leader. But there's a particular brand of leadership that I really enjoy, and that's being a servant leader. I love serving people, helping people. And as a byproduct of that is that I'm able to get the best out of people, because in my industry, it relies a lot on people wanting to do the work. There's no salary, so to speak. So I can't rule with that kind of fear of, okay, well, you may lose your job. No, people are in my industry because they want to be there. So people have to buy into your vision. So you have to be a visionary. You have to have a very clear vision, and you have to get your team to buy into your vision. Because once the team buy into your vision, that now the energy and the work rate is through the roof. This is more than just money. They can see the big picture of what you're trying to do. So having a very clear vision is number one. Being a servant leader, and getting the best out of people that way. Taking people, being a transformational leader, where you're able to, take people on a journey, take them to a place that they don't even want to go, but when they get there, they will say thank you. And that's what we try to do.
Des, it's absolutely brilliant spending some time with you. It really is remarkable seeing how you've led, how you've modeled, servant leadership, but also just, pursuing courageously what God's leading you into. Thank you for giving us some time today on your Saturday. God bless you for all you're doing and the rest of your day. Thank you, Des Amey. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.